A sunny afternoon in the park should have been simple. Ice cream, football, and laughter between Maya Carter and her two sons, Jordan and Caleb. Instead, squad cars rolled in, officers claiming suspicious behavior. To them, a black single mother with two young boys fit a narrative they'd written countless times before. Their questions sharpened, their tone edged with intimidation, as if daring her to falter. But Maya Carter wasn't just any mother. She was Dr. Maya Carter, an FBI agent. And when they crossed the line from inquiry to harassment, they discovered that the woman they underestimated was trained to fight back. Before we go any further, comment where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. The afternoon sun hung lazily in the cloudless sky, casting warm rays across the suburban park's green expanse. Maya Carter sat on a weathered wooden bench, watching her sons Jordan and Caleb chase each other with infectious laughter that made her heart swell. The remains of their ice cream cones left sticky traces on their fingers, evidence of the simple joy they'd shared moments ago. "Mom, catch!" Jordan called out, his dark eyes sparkling as he launched the football in a wobbly arc toward her. Maya reached up, making an exaggerated grab that sent both boys into fits of giggles when she nearly toppled off the bench. "See? I told you she'd mess it up," Jordan said to his younger brother, grinning. "Mom's too serious to be good at football." Caleb, always quick to defend his mother, shook his head. "No way! Mom's good at everything. She's just pretending." Maya raised an eyebrow, fighting back a smile. "Oh, am I too serious?" She stood up, brushing off her jeans. "Maybe I should show you boys how it's really done." She scooped up the football and threw a perfect spiral that sailed right over Jordan's outstretched hands. "No fair!" Jordan laughed, running to retrieve the ball. "You've been holding out on us." Caleb clapped his hands in delight. "Do it again, Mom." For once, Maya felt the weight of her responsibilities slip away. No badge to worry about, no cases to solve, no reports to file. Just her and her boys, enjoying a perfect Saturday afternoon. She'd been working too many long hours lately, and moments like these were precious. "Ice cream and football?" she teased, jogging over to them. "What did I do to deserve such spoiled children?" "We're not spoiled," Jordan protested, but his smile gave him away. He sketched quickly in his ever-present notebook, capturing the moment in swift, sure strokes. "We're just awesome." 20 feet away, a white couple sat at a picnic table, their own children playing nearby. The woman's eyes hadn't left Maya and her sons since they'd arrived, her lips pressed into a thin line of disapproval. She leaned close to her husband, whispering something that made him frown and look over. Maya noticed. She always noticed. Years of FBI training had honed her awareness to a razor's edge, but she refused to let their prejudice poison this moment with her children. She'd faced worse countless times before. The woman pulled out her phone, holding it close to her face as if trying to be discreet. Her voice carried just enough for Maya to catch fragments. "Suspicious woman. Watching everyone. Those boys don't even look like they're hers." Jordan's shoulders tensed. He'd heard too. His sketching stopped, the pencil frozen mid-stroke. Maya's heart ached, seeing how quickly fear could steal her son's joy. "Hey," she said softly, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Eyes on me, baby. We're having fun, remember?" Caleb, still innocent to the undercurrent of tension, tugged at Maya's sleeve. "Can we play tag now, please?" "Of course, sweet pea." Maya forced brightness into her voice. "But I warn you, I'm pretty fast." They chased each other across the grass, their laughter drowning out the woman's continued whispers into her phone. Maya made sure to stay within sight of the picnic table, her movements open and obvious. She knew the dance, how to be unthreatening while refusing to be intimidated. "Can't catch me!" Caleb shouted, darting behind a tree. "Oh, I bet I can, Maya called back, deliberately slowing her pace to let him stay ahead. The woman's voice grew more urgent. Just doesn't look right. She's watching the other children too closely. Jordan heard it again. His face fell, and he moved closer to Maya, seeking the protection of her presence. She pulled him into a quick hug, whispering, "It's okay, baby. We belong here just as much as anyone else." The sound of tires on gravel cut through their game. A white and blue patrol car rolled slowly into the park's parking lot, its presence immediately changing the atmosphere. Maya's trained eye caught every detail. The way the officers inside scanned the park with practiced movements, the deliberate slowness of their approach. Their gaze found her, and Maya felt the familiar weight settle onto her shoulders. She'd seen that look too many times before. The automatic suspicion, the prejudgment, the power dynamic they expected to enforce. Caleb ran back to her, suddenly unsure. "Mom, it's okay," she said again, gathering both boys close. They stood together on the sun-warmed grass, the forgotten football at their feet, watching the patrol car creep closer. Maya's mind was already racing, calculating angles and options, preparing for what she knew was coming. The woman at the picnic table watched with poorly concealed satisfaction, her phone still clutched in her hand like a weapon. Her husband nodded approvingly at the approaching police car, as if justice itself had arrived to address their discomfort. Jordan pressed against Maya's side, his notebook clutched tight to his chest. "Mom," he whispered, his voice small but steady. "Are we in trouble?" "No, baby," Maya answered, keeping her voice calm and sure. "We haven't done anything wrong. Remember that. No matter what happens next, we haven't done anything wrong." The patrol car came to a stop, and two officers emerged. Officer Bailey stepped out first, adjusting his belt with practiced authority. His partner followed, both approaching with measured steps that Maya recognized as textbook intimidation tactics. "Afternoon, ma'am," Bailey said, his tone professionally cold. "We received a call about some suspicious activity in the park. Mind if we ask you a few questions?" Maya kept her boys close, one hand on each of their shoulders. "No suspicious activity here, officers. Just enjoying the park with my children." Bailey's eyes narrowed slightly. "We got a report about a woman possibly with kidnapped children. Protocol requires us to investigate." He turned his attention to Jordan and Caleb, his voice shifting to an exaggerated friendliness that made Maya's skin crawl. "Hey there, boys. Mind if I ask you something?" Jordan pressed closer to Maya's side. Caleb looked up at his mother, uncertainty clear in his young face. "Is this really your mom?" Bailey asked, pointing at Maya. "Do you know her full name?" The question hung in the air like poison. Maya felt Jordan trembling slightly under her hand, but his voice came out strong and clear. "Of course she's our mom. Her name is Dr. Maya Carter." "Dr. Carter," Caleb added quickly, eager to help. "She helps catch bad guys." Bailey ignored the last part. "Ma'am, I'm going to need to see some identification." Maya kept her voice steady, controlled. "Officers, these are my children. I'd like to know why we're being harassed while trying to enjoy a peaceful afternoon at the park." "No one's harassing anyone," Bailey's partner chimed in. "We're just following up on a concerned citizen's report." He gestured toward the woman at the picnic table, who quickly looked away. More people were gathering now, phones appearing in hands, recording the scene. Maya could feel the weight of their stares, hear the murmur of their whispers. She'd been here before, knew how quickly situations like this could spiral. "Actually," Bailey said, his eyes moving to Maya's SUV in the parking lot, "that vehicle matches the description of one involved in some recent thefts in the area. Going to need to see your registration along with that ID." Maya felt her jaw tighten. The lie was so transparent, it was almost insulting. "Officer Bailey," she said, reading his nameplate, "you and I both know that's not true. You're fishing. and you're doing it in front of my children. Ma'am, if you continue to be uncooperative— I haven't been uncooperative. I'm simply stating facts. Maya's FBI training kicked in automatically. Cataloging details, reading body language, maintaining control of the situation. My boys and I have done nothing wrong, and you have no probable cause for any of this. The crowd had grown larger. Someone muttered, "This isn't right." Another voice added, "They're just playing in the park." Bailey's partner moved slightly to his left, a subtle positioning that Maya recognized as a tactical move to control space. "Ma'am, last time. Produce your ID, or we'll have to take this conversation downtown." Maya could feel the situation teetering on a knife's edge. She needed to end this quickly, before it traumatized her boys any further. "Fine. My ID is in my bag. I'm reaching for it now." She started to move her hand toward her purse, telegraphing her movements clearly. But Bailey suddenly grabbed her wrist, his fingers digging in hard enough to bruise. In that instant, everything changed. Maya's body responded before her mind could process the shift. Years of training taking over in a heartbeat. She twisted her arm in a precise motion, breaking his grip with practiced ease. Her stance widened automatically, center of gravity dropping as she moved her boys behind her with her other arm. "Do not put your hands on me," she said, her voice transformed from concerned mother to federal agent. The change was so dramatic that Bailey took a step back, his hand instinctively moving toward his weapon. The crowd gasped. Phones raised higher, recording everything. The woman who had made the call stood up at her picnic table, her mouth hanging open at the sudden shift in power dynamics. "Back away from my children," Maya continued, her words carrying the weight of authority that came from years of federal service. "Now!" Bailey's partner reached for his radio, but Maya's voice cut through the air like a blade. "Before you make that call, you should know exactly who you're dealing with. Both of you have made several serious mistakes in the last 5 minutes, and I've documented every single one." Jordan and Caleb stood behind their mother, watching with wide eyes as she transformed from their playful, ice-cream-buying mom into someone else entirely. Someone who radiated power and absolute control. "Ma'am, you need to—" Bailey started, but Maya cut him off. "No, Officer Bailey. You need to think very carefully about your next move. Because this situation is about to become much more complicated than a false report about suspicious behavior in a park." The tension snapped like a rubber band. Both officers lunged forward simultaneously, their training evident, but their anger making them sloppy. Maya's eyes narrowed, time seeming to slow as her FBI combat training took over. Officer Bailey reached for his taser, while his partner went for a direct grab. Maya moved with fluid precision, her body responding to years of drills and real-world experience. She sidestepped Bailey's reach, grabbing his wrist and using his own momentum to send him stumbling past her. In the same motion, she twisted his arm up behind his back, forcing him to drop the taser. "Mom!" Jordan's voice cracked with fear and amazement. "Stay back, boys," Maya commanded, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Remember what we practiced. Safe distance." The partner officer recovered and charged, but Maya was ready. She released Bailey with a push and dropped low, sweeping the charging officer's legs out from under him. He hit the ground hard, the impact forcing a grunt from his lungs. The crowd had formed a wide circle now, dozens of phones recording every second. Someone shouted, "Get them, sister!" while others called out in disbelief. Bailey scrambled to his feet, face red with rage and embarrassment. He reached for his gun, but Maya closed the distance before his hand could grasp the grip. Her elbow struck his solar plexus, driving the air from his lungs. As he doubled over, she grabbed his gun arm and executed a perfect hip throw, sending him flying over her shoulder to land flat on his back. "Oh my God!" a woman in the crowd screamed. Did you see that? The partner officer had regained his feet and pulled his baton. He swung it in a wide arc, but Maya blocked with her forearm, the impact absorbed by muscle memory and proper technique. She trapped the baton against her body, twisted it free from his grip, and tossed it aside. "Stand down!" she ordered, her voice carrying the full weight of federal authority. "You're making this much worse for yourselves." Instead of complying, the partner threw a wild punch. Maya slipped it easily, countering with a sharp jab to his throat that left him gagging. She followed with a sweep to his back knee, bringing him down hard. Bailey had recovered enough to try another rush, but Maya was tired of playing defense. She met his charge head-on, blocking his haymaker and landing 3 rapid strikes to his ribs. As he staggered, she grabbed his arm and executed a textbook armbar takedown, pinning him face down in the grass. His partner tried to rise, but Maya's foot pressed firmly between his shoulder blades, keeping him prone while maintaining the hold on Bailey. Both officers were effectively immobilized, and the crowd erupted in cheers and shocked exclamations. "Caleb! Jordan!" Maya called out, her voice still remarkably calm. "Are you both okay?" "Yes, Mom," they answered in unison, their voices filled with awe. "That was amazing," Caleb added, bouncing on his toes despite his earlier fear. The wail of approaching sirens cut through the commotion. Maya could hear the squeal of tires as multiple police vehicles entered the park. She maintained her holds, but turned her head to see 3 more patrol cars racing toward them, lights flashing. "Everyone stay calm," she projected to the crowd. "Keep recording. Make sure you capture everything that happens next." The backup officers poured out of their vehicles, weapons drawn, shouting contradictory orders. Maya remained perfectly still, keeping both officers pinned but making no aggressive moves. "Release them immediately," one of the new officers demanded. "I'm going to reach for my credentials," Maya announced clearly. "My ID is in my back pocket. I'm releasing these officers slowly, and then I'm going to show you who I am." She gradually released her holds, allowing both officers to scramble away from her. They stumbled to their feet, red-faced and disheveled, trying to recover some dignity as Maya reached back with deliberate slowness. The crowd held its collective breath as she withdrew her FBI badge and ID, holding it high above her head, where everyone could see the federal shield gleaming in the afternoon sun. "I'm Special Agent Dr. Maya Carter, Federal Bureau of Investigation," she declared, her voice carrying across the suddenly silent park. "And these officers just committed multiple violations of federal law while assaulting a federal agent in front of witnesses." Phones clicked rapidly, capturing the badge, the shocked faces of the backup officers, and the dawning horror on Bailey's face as he realized exactly how badly he had miscalculated. Maya's sons stood tall behind her, their earlier fear replaced by unmistakable pride. The crowd murmured in amazement, and someone whispered, "That's why she moved like that. She's FBI." The sirens died away, leaving an almost eerie quiet, broken only by the sound of cameras continuing to document every moment. The backup officers slowly lowered their weapons, uncertain how to proceed now that the situation had shifted so dramatically. Bailey and his partner stood frozen, their earlier bravado completely evaporated as they faced not just any FBI agent, but one who had thoroughly demonstrated her physical superiority in front of dozens of witnesses with video evidence. The backup officers formed a loose circle around Maya, their hands hovering near their weapons. She kept her movements slow and deliberate, her FBI badge still clearly visible. "Let me explain exactly what happened here," Maya said, her voice carrying the practiced calm of someone used to defusing tense situations. "I was here with my sons when your officers approached us without cause. They escalated to physical contact, and I was forced to defend myself using my federal training." One of the backup officers, an older sergeant with gray at his temples, stepped forward. "Ma'am, we'll need to verify that badge." "Of course." Maya carefully passed him her credentials. "You can also contact the local FBI field office. They'll confirm my identity." The sergeant examined her ID closely, then spoke into his radio. The crowd continued filming, their phones raised like a wall of electronic witnesses. Jordan and Caleb stood close to their mother, their earlier fear now mixed with fascination at seeing this new side of her. "Mom," Jordan whispered, "everyone's watching." "Let them watch," Maya replied softly. "The truth needs witnesses." Bailey and his partner had regained their composure, huddled together near their patrol car. Maya could see them gesturing animatedly, their faces twisted with anger and embarrassment. They were speaking urgently into their own radio, likely calling for higher-ranking backup. The sergeant returned Maya's credentials, his expression neutral but respectful. "Everything appears to be in order, Agent Carter." For a brief moment, Maya felt the tension ease. The crowd's murmurs turned supportive, and several people called out encouragement. "You show them! Don't let them get away with this!" Then Bailey stepped forward, his voice carrying a new edge of desperation. "She attacked us. Badge or no badge, she assaulted police officers." His partner joined in, their earlier aggression transformed into calculated victimhood. She was acting erratically from the start. Suspicious behavior, refusing to comply with simple requests. "That's a lie!" Caleb shouted, but Maya squeezed his shoulder gently. "Let them talk," she whispered. "They're just making it worse for themselves." Bailey pointed at Maya, his hand trembling slightly. "How do we even know that's a real badge? FBI agents don't just hang out in parks attacking cops." "I was here with my children," Maya corrected him firmly. "You initiated the physical contact. Multiple videos show exactly what happened." The crowd voiced their agreement, several people holding up their phones as proof. But Maya noticed the backup officers exchanging uncertain glances. Despite the clear evidence, they were already choosing sides, and it wasn't hers. A black SUV with police department markings pulled up, and Captain Richard Harlan stepped out. Maya recognized him immediately from police liaison meetings, though they'd never directly spoken. His reputation preceded him, a man known for protecting his officers at any cost. Harlan surveyed the scene, his cold eyes taking in every detail. He barely glanced at Maya's badge before turning to Bailey and his partner. "Officers, are you injured?" Harlan's voice carried false concern. "She attacked us, Captain," Bailey said quickly. "We were responding to a suspicious person call, and she became violent." Harlan turned to Maya, his face a mask of professional disdain. "Agent Carter, if that's who you really are, you understand we'll need to investigate this thoroughly. Assaulting officers is a serious offense." "Captain Harlan," Maya replied evenly, "your officers harassed me and my children without cause, escalated to physical contact, and attempted to use weapons. Everything is on video." "Videos can be misleading," Harlan said smoothly, "and they don't show what happened before. We'll need statements from everyone, and of course, we'll have to verify your credentials through official channels." Maya watched as Harlan moved among his officers, speaking quietly to each one. The backup officers' postures changed subtly, their earlier uncertainty hardening into something more hostile. They were falling in line behind their captain, reality already being reshaped to fit their preferred narrative. The captain stepped away, speaking intently into his radio. Though Maya couldn't hear his words, she saw his eyes fix on her with unmistakable malice. This wasn't just about protecting his officers anymore. She represented a direct threat to his authority, to the system he'd built. A cold shiver ran down Maya's spine. She'd seen that look before in corrupt officials who'd do anything to maintain their power. Her brief moment of vindication evaporated as she realized this confrontation was far from over. "Mom?" Jordan's voice was quiet. "Are we in trouble?" Maya pulled both her boys closer, watching as Harlan continued his whispered conversation. His back turned, but his intent clear in every rigid line of his posture. "No, baby," she said, keeping her voice steady despite the dread building in her chest. "But I think this is going to be a longer fight than we thought." The crowd had grown larger, their phones still recording, but Maya barely noticed them now. Her focus was entirely on Harlan as he ended his radio call and turned back toward her, his face set in lines of bureaucratic determination. The drive home felt longer than usual. Maya kept checking her rearview mirror, watching for patrol cars that might follow them. The setting sun cast long shadows across the suburban streets, making every dark corner seem threatening. "Mom?" Jordan's voice broke through the tense silence from the back seat. "Are they going to arrest you?" Maya gripped the steering wheel tighter, but kept her voice calm. "No, honey. I didn't do anything wrong. Everything's on video, remember?" "But what if they lie?" Caleb's voice trembled. "What if they make up stuff about you?" "Then we'll fight back with the truth," Maya said firmly, though her stomach churned at the thought. "I'm an FBI agent. I know how to handle this." Jordan leaned forward in his seat. "You were amazing, Mom. The way you took down those cops, it was like something from a movie." "I didn't want you to see that side of me," Maya admitted softly. "I'm trained to protect people, but fighting should always be the last resort." "Were you scared?" Caleb asked. Maya thought carefully before answering. "A little. But being scared doesn't mean you can't be brave. Sometimes being brave means standing up for what's right, even when you're afraid." They pulled into their driveway, and Maya did another quick scan of the street before ushering the boys inside. Their home felt different now, less like a sanctuary and more like a fortress they needed to defend. "Go get ready for bed," Maya instructed. "It's been a long day." While the boys brushed their teeth, Maya checked all the doors and windows, drawing the curtains tight. She could hear them whispering in the bathroom, their voices carrying traces of excitement mixed with worry. "Did you see how fast she moved?" "Yeah, but what if the mean cops come here? Mom won't let them hurt us." "I know, but still." Maya's heart ached hearing their conversation. They shouldn't have to worry about these things. They shouldn't have to see their mother fight or fear the police showing up at their door. When the boys finished getting ready, Maya followed them to their rooms. Jordan's walls were covered with his sketches, superhero drawings mostly, though Maya noticed he'd already started a new one that looked suspiciously like her in an action pose. "Try to get some sleep," she said, pulling his covers up. "Everything will look better in the morning." Jordan grabbed her hand before she could leave. "Mom, I'm proud of you for not letting them push us around." Maya kissed his forehead, lingering a moment longer than usual. "I'm proud of you too, baby. You were so brave today." In Caleb's room next door, her younger son was already curled up under his favorite blanket, clutching his worn stuffed elephant. His eyes were wide and anxious in the soft glow of his nightlight. "Will you stay with me for a little while?" he asked. Maya sat on the edge of his bed, running her fingers through his curls. "Of course, baby. I was really scared when they grabbed you," Caleb whispered. "But then, you weren't scared at all." "I was scared," Maya admitted. "But sometimes we have to act brave even when we're afraid. That's what real courage is." Caleb held onto her tighter than usual when she leaned down to kiss him goodnight. She could feel him trembling slightly, and it broke her heart. "I love you, Mom," he said fiercely. "I love you too, baby. More than anything in this world." Maya stayed until his breathing evened out in sleep, then quietly made her way downstairs. She needed to think, to plan their next moves carefully. The house felt too quiet now, the silence heavy with unspoken threats. Her phone buzzed. Sarah Martinez, her closest colleague at the FBI. Maya had worked with her on numerous cases, and they'd developed a trust that went beyond professional courtesy. "Sarah, what's wrong?" Maya asked, noting the late hour. "Are you somewhere private?" Sarah's voice was barely above a whisper. Maya moved to her home office, closing the door. "I am now. Talk to me. I've been making calls, checking channels. Maya, they're not just mad. They're mobilizing against you. They want you buried." Maya's hand tightened on the phone until her knuckles went white. The words hit her like physical blows, confirming her worst fears. She'd known the police department wouldn't let this go easily, but hearing it confirmed made her blood run cold. "What exactly are they planning?" she managed to ask, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her. The next morning, Maya sat at her kitchen table before dawn, her laptop open and a fresh cup of coffee steaming beside her. She hadn't slept much, but her mind was sharp with purpose. The boys were still asleep upstairs, giving her precious quiet time to work. "Document everything," she muttered to herself, fingers flying across the keyboard. She detailed yesterday's events with clinical precision. The initial approach, the officer's exact words, their aggressive actions, and her measured response. Years of writing FBI reports had taught her the importance of details. Her phone buzzed. It was Angela Washington, a civil rights attorney she'd worked with on previous cases. "I saw the videos," Angela said without preamble. "All of them. There are at least 6 different angles showing those officers completely out of line. When can you meet?" "The boys have school at 8, Maya replied. "I can be at your office by 9. "Perfect. And Maya? Bring everything, your badge, your service record, any complaints you've filed. We're going to build an ironclad case." After hanging up, Maya opened Twitter. The video had exploded overnight. She watched herself again, the controlled takedown, the flash of her badge, the shocked faces of the officers. Comments flooded in by the hundreds. "FBI agent and single mom? Queen. Those cops picked the wrong woman to mess with. This is what happens when you racially profile the wrong person." Maya started typing her own thread, hands trembling slightly. "I am Dr. Maya Carter, the FBI agent in yesterday's viral video. I'm also a single mother of 2 beautiful boys who watched their mom being harassed and assaulted by police officers while we were simply enjoying a day at the park." She told the story in clear, measured words. No dramatics needed. The truth was powerful enough. She ended with a call for accountability and reform, then hit post. The response was immediate. Retweets and likes exploded. Local activists began sharing her thread, adding their own stories of police harassment. Within an hour, "Under Justice for Maya" was trending. Jordan wandered into the kitchen, still in his pajamas. "Mom, you're on TV." Maya looked up at their small kitchen television. Sure enough, the morning news was running the story. They split the screen between the viral video and a photo from her FBI badge. The headline below read, "Hero Mom or Threat? FBI agents park confrontation sparks debate." "They're calling you a hero," Jordan said proudly. Maya pulled him close, kissing the top of his head. "Baby, what matters is that we know the truth. The rest is just noise." But the noise was getting louder. By the time she dropped the boys at school, after a long talk with their principal about possible media attention, her phone was blowing up with messages. Journalists wanted interviews. Activists wanted her to speak at rallies. The FBI's Public Affairs Office sent urgent emails about proper media protocols. At Angela's office, they watched a live stream of protesters gathering outside the police station. People carried signs reading, "Protect Black Mothers," and "Who polices the police?" "This is good," Angela said, taking notes. "Public pressure makes them nervous. Nervous people make mistakes." Maya's phone buzzed again, a text from Sarah at the FBI. Chief of Police holding press conference at noon. Watch your back. They turned on the TV just in time to see Police Chief Richards step up to a forest of microphones. His face was red, his uniform perfectly pressed. "While we take all allegations of misconduct seriously," he began, "we must remember that our officers face split-second decisions in potentially dangerous situations." Translation? "They're circling the wagons," Angela muttered. Maya barely heard her. She was focused on her phone, where support continued pouring in. Civil rights organizations offered resources. Other black female law enforcement officers shared similar stories. Mothers from across the country sent messages of solidarity. A new hashtag was trending. "We stand with Maya." "Look at this," she showed Angela her screen. "People are organizing fundraisers for legal fees we haven't even needed yet." "That's because they see themselves in you," Angela replied. A mother protecting her children. A professional woman facing discrimination. Someone finally fighting back and winning. Maya scrolled through more messages. A viral tweet showed her boys' scared faces next to her taking down the officers, with the caption, "This is what Mama Bear looks like when you threaten her cubs." For the first time since yesterday's confrontation, Maya felt something loosen in her chest. The fear wasn't gone. She knew the fight ahead would be brutal. But she wasn't alone anymore. Each supportive message, each shared story, each protest sign carried a piece of her burden. "Maybe we can really do this," she said softly, more to herself than Angela. "Maybe we can actually make them answer for what they did." Angela squeezed her shoulder. "That's what they're afraid of. And that's exactly why we're going to win." Maya looked back at her phone, at the thousands of voices rising to support her. The flicker of hope in her chest grew stronger, warming her like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. The system might be powerful, but so was the truth. And now the whole world was watching. Maya flashed her badge at the security desk of the FBI field office, grateful that her credentials still worked. Despite the media circus outside her house this morning, the familiar corridors felt like a sanctuary. She nodded to colleagues who gave her supportive looks, but kept walking, focused on her mission. In her office, she closed the blinds and logged into the federal database. Her hands hesitated over the keyboard for a moment. What she was about to do wasn't exactly illegal. She had clearance to access police records, but using it for personal investigation was definitely in a gray area. "Sometimes justice needs a push," she whispered, then typed in Officer Mark Bailey's name. The screen filled with files. Maya's eyes widened as she read. "Got you," she breathed. Bailey had 5 brutality complaints in just 2 years, all involving minorities. Each time, the incidents were marked as resolved with minimal investigation. The pattern was clear: aggressive stops, escalating confrontations, then paperwork that made the victims look like the aggressors. She opened a secure folder on her laptop and started downloading. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jordan. "When are you picking us up from after school?" "4:30 sharp," she replied, then returned to digging. The deeper she went, the worse it got. Bailey's partner had similar complaints. Internal affairs investigations that mysteriously ended. Witness statements that contradicted official reports. Maya recognized the bureaucratic language used to bury the truth. She'd seen it too many times before. A knock at her door made her jump. "Come in," she called, quickly minimizing windows. It was Tom Chen, her longtime colleague. He closed the door behind him and spoke in a low voice. "Maya, you need to see this. Just came through unofficial channels." He handed her his phone. On it was a police department memo marked internal only about her case. Her breath caught as she read phrases like potential threat to officer safety and history of aggressive behavior. "They're building a narrative," Tom said. making you look unstable before any hearing. Maya's jaw tightened. They don't know who they're dealing with. She showed him her screen. Look what I found. Tom whistled softly. That's a powder keg. But Maya, be careful. These guys play dirty when cornered. So do I, she said, continuing to download files. And I've got better training. She worked methodically, following digital breadcrumbs. Each new document revealed more corruption. Missing evidence, altered testimonies, systematic suppression of complaints. The department hadn't just protected bad officers, they'd created a culture where harassment was standard procedure. Her phone buzzed again, this time from Angela. Meeting with Civil Rights Commission tomorrow. Bringing anything good? Maya smiled grimly. Oh yes, a lot. She glanced at the clock. Almost time to get the boys. As she gathered the files, her office phone rang. The caller ID showed Internal Affairs. Maya stared at it, letting it ring. They were probably fishing for information, trying to figure out her next move. Let them wonder. She packed her laptop carefully, making sure all the files were secured and backed up. Years of FBI work had taught her to always protect her evidence. These documents were her ammunition in the fight ahead. Walking through the parking garage, Maya felt exposed. Her heels clicked on the concrete, echoing off the walls. She quickened her pace, scanning the shadows between cars. The weight of her service weapon at her hip was reassuring. She picked up Jordan and Caleb from their after-school program, trying to act normal despite her racing thoughts. The boys chatted about their day, but she could sense their anxiety. They kept looking around, as if expecting more police to appear. "Mom," Jordan said suddenly, "are those men following us?" Maya checked her rearview mirror. A dark sedan 2 cars back, unmarked, but clearly police issue. She recognized the type from countless operations. "Just some people going the same way," she said calmly, taking a deliberate wrong turn. The sedan followed. She drove in a careful circle, confirming her suspicions. When she finally pulled onto their street, she spotted another unmarked car parked across from their house. 2 men in plain clothes sat inside, not even trying to be subtle. "Okay, boys," she said cheerfully, masking her anger. "Homework time. Let's get inside." She helped them out of the car, positioning herself between them and the watching officers. Her hand brushed her concealed weapon as she unlocked the front door, but she kept her movements casual. "Go on up and start your work," she told the boys. "I'll bring snacks in a minute." Only when they were safely inside did Maya allow herself a quick glance at the surveillance car. She recognized one of the men, a detective from the same precinct as Bailey. They wanted her to know she was being watched. She lifted her briefcase, heavy with damning evidence, and walked inside without acknowledging them. Let them watch. She had enough ammunition now to blow their whole corrupt system wide open. The question was, how far would they go to stop her? Maya's dining room had become a war room. Files and documents covered the table as she met with her impromptu team. Angela Washington, the civil rights lawyer with 20 years of experience fighting police misconduct. Marcus Thompson, leader of the Community Justice Coalition, and Sarah Chen, the investigative journalist whose initial story had blown the case wide open. "These complaints go back years," Maya explained, spreading out the documents. "Every time they cornered someone vulnerable, every time they escalated a simple stop into violence, it's all here." Angela adjusted her glasses, examining a particularly damning report. "The pattern is clear. They target minorities, create confrontations, then twist the paperwork to blame the victim. Classic abuse of power. And the department backs them every time," Marcus added, his deep voice tight with controlled anger. He'd been fighting these battles for a decade, but the evidence still made his hands shake. Internal Affairs is just a rubber stamp. Sarah took photos of key documents with her phone, careful to exclude any identifying details that could compromise Maya's position. The public needs to see this. Not just statistics, but real stories. Real people hurt by these officers. We need to be strategic, Maya cautioned, glancing toward the kitchen where her boys were supposedly doing homework. They're watching my house right now. They'll try to discredit anything we release. Let them try, Angela said firmly. We've got hard evidence, multiple witnesses, and viral videos. Plus, you're the perfect plaintiff, an FBI agent with a spotless record. They can't paint you as some random troublemaker. Marcus leaned forward, his elbows on the table. We organize a press conference. Get all the previous victims to speak. Show the community this isn't isolated. It's systematic. And I'll run a series, Sarah added, typing notes on her laptop. Start with your confrontation, then expand to show the bigger picture. Police harassment, covered-up complaints, the whole corrupt machine. Maya nodded slowly. But we need to move fast. They're already building their counter-narrative. That internal memo Tom showed me. They're trying to paint me as unstable, aggressive. Classic gaslighting, Angela snorted. They love using that against strong women, especially women of color. But it won't work this time. We've got too much proof. They worked out a timeline. Angela would file official complaints with the department, the city, and the FBI's Office of Professional Responsibility. Marcus would organize peaceful protests and community forums. Sarah would release her investigation in carefully timed segments, building public pressure. What about your safety? Marcus asked Maya directly. These officers have friends. They're not above intimidation. Maya touched her concealed weapon reflexively. I can handle myself. I'm more worried about... A small noise from the doorway made them all turn. Jordan and Caleb stood there in their pajamas, clutching their tablets. Their eyes were wide with worry. Mom? Jordan asked, his voice smaller than usual. We heard you talking about safety. Caleb moved closer to his brother. Are the bad police going to hurt us? Maya's heart clenched. She pushed back from the table and opened her arms. Both boys ran to her, pressing against her sides. The others watched silently, understanding the human cost of this fight. Listen to me, Maya said, looking into their worried faces. Those officers, they're bullies. And what do we say about bullies? They're cowards, Jordan recited. They only feel strong when others feel scared. That's right. Maya hugged them tighter. And are we scared? Caleb hesitated. A little. That's okay, Maya assured him. Being brave doesn't mean you're never scared. It means you don't let fear stop you from doing what's right. But what if they come here? Jordan asked. What if they try to hurt you? Maya met Angela's eyes over their heads, seeing her own determination reflected there. Then she looked back at her sons, these beautiful boys who deserved to grow up without fear of those meant to protect them. Mom, are we safe? Caleb whispered against her shoulder. Maya pulled them both closer, her voice fierce and tender at once. As long as I'm here, you are. The room fell quiet, except for the soft sound of Sarah's typing and Marcus shuffling papers. They all understood what was really at stake. Not just justice for one incident, but the right of a mother and her children to live without fear. The right of a community to trust those with power over them. Jordan and Caleb held on to their mother for another long moment before reluctantly heading back upstairs. Maya watched them go, her protective instincts warring with her determination to see this fight through. Angela touched her arm gently. We'll make it right, Maya, for them and for every other child who deserves better. Maya nodded, turning back to the table covered with evidence of corruption. They had truth on their side. Now they just had to make it matter. Maya stood before her bathroom mirror, adjusting her navy blazer and rehearsing her testimony one more time. The city council had announced the public hearing for tomorrow, and her words needed to be perfect. Every news station in the city had been running stories about the FBI Agent Mom case. The officers approached without cause, she practiced, her voice steady. They escalated the situation deliberately, putting my children at risk. Her phone buzzed. Another text from Angela, her lawyer. CNN wants an interview. Still think we should wait until after. Maya agreed. They'd been strategic about media appearances, letting the viral videos and public outrage speak for themselves. Sarah's investigative series had done the rest, revealing a pattern of harassment that stretched back years. The sound of her boys arguing drifted up from downstairs. Maya checked her watch, past their bedtime. She headed down to find Jordan and Caleb sprawled on the living room floor, surrounded by colored pencils and paper. "It needs more red," Jordan was saying, hunched over his sketchbook. "Superheroes always have red." "But Mom wears blue to work," Caleb protested, pointing at another drawing. Maya cleared her throat. "Artists, it's bedtime." "Wait!" Jordan scrambled to hide whatever he was working on. "You can't see it yet. It's for tomorrow." "For the hearing?" Maya sat on the couch, suddenly exhausted. She'd been up past midnight all week, working with Angela to prepare her testimony and review evidence. Caleb climbed into her lap, his small hands playing with her FBI badge. She'd gotten it back after a tense meeting with her superiors, who'd been forced to acknowledge the public support behind her. "Are you scared?" Caleb asked quietly. Maya stroked his hair. "A little. But being scared is okay when you're doing something important. Like when I had to give my book report." Jordan looked up from his drawing. "Exactly like that." Maya smiled. "Remember how nervous you were? But you did it anyway. And it turned out great." "Yeah, but you have to talk in front of way more people." Jordan frowned. "And those mean officers will be there." Maya's jaw tightened. The officers had been placed on administrative leave, but their police union was fighting hard. They'd tried to paint Maya as aggressive, unstable, but the videos told a different story. "Truth is stronger than lies," Maya said firmly. "That's why we have to tell our story, even when it's scary. Like in my book about Martin Luther King?" Caleb perked up. They'd been reading age-appropriate civil rights history together, helping the boys understand why this fight mattered. "Just like that, baby." Maya hugged him closer. "Sometimes brave people have to stand up and say, 'This is wrong,' so things can change." Jordan finally looked up from his drawing. "Will things really change, though? Officer Mike at school still looks at us weird." Maya's heart ached. Her sons had lost some of their innocence that day in the park, learning too young that some people in uniform couldn't be trusted. "Change takes time," she explained carefully. "But it starts with people speaking up. Remember how many supporters came to the rally last week?" The boys nodded. The Community Justice Coalition had organized a peaceful march that drew hundreds. Maya had kept her sons home, worried about police retaliation, but they'd watched the coverage together. "Okay, really bedtime now," Maya announced, standing up. "Tomorrow's a big day." She supervised teeth brushing and pajamas, then tucked them into their beds. As she kissed Caleb goodnight, he whispered, "You're braver than Superman, Mom." In Jordan's room, he finally pulled out the drawing he'd been working on. "It's for tomorrow, for good luck." Maya's breath caught as she looked at it. Jordan had drawn her standing tall, wearing her FBI jacket like a cape. She was positioned protectively in front of stick-figure versions of the boys, her arms spread wide as if shielding them. "See?" Jordan pointed proudly. "You're our superhero." And superheroes always win against bad guys. Maya traced the careful lines, noting how he'd drawn her natural hair like a crown, how he'd made her look both strong and gentle. "This is beautiful, baby. Thank you. Will you take it with you tomorrow? For good luck?" "I'll keep it right in my folder." Maya kissed his forehead. "Now, sleep, okay?" Promise the truth will win tomorrow? Jordan asked sleepily. Maya tucked the drawing carefully into her briefing folder, next to her testimony. Tomorrow, the truth wins, she promised. She left his nightlight on and closed the door softly. In the hallway, she touched the drawing through the folder, drawing strength from her son's faith in her. Tomorrow would test everything: her courage, her composure, her commitment to justice. But looking at Jordan's art, she knew she couldn't fail. This wasn't just about one incident in a park anymore. It was about her son's future, about every child's right to trust those meant to protect them. The truth had to win, for all of them. Maya's hands trembled slightly as she pulled out of her lawyer's office parking lot. Angela's last words echoed in her mind. Be careful. They're desperate now. The streetlights cast long shadows across her SUV as she merged onto the main road. 3 blocks later, she noticed the dark sedan. It stayed 2 cars behind, matching her turns with practiced precision. Her FBI training kicked in. She took an unnecessary left, then a right. The sedan followed. Maya's heart pounded as she speed-dialed her neighbor. Mrs. Johnson, are my boys still at your house? Good. Could you keep them inside for a few more minutes when I get there? She gripped the steering wheel tighter, checking her mirrors. The sedan had closed the gap. No plates visible in the dim light. Her driveway was just ahead, but stopping felt dangerous. She had to get home, though. Her boys would worry. Maya pulled in sharply, killing the engine. Before she could move, car doors slammed behind her. 3 men in black masks rushed from the shadows. Their build and movement screamed law enforcement training. She exploded out of her SUV, using the door as a weapon. It caught the first attacker in the chest. He staggered back, cursing. The second man grabbed for her throat, but Maya ducked and drove her elbow into his solar plexus. FBI, stand down! She shouted, knowing they wouldn't listen. These weren't random thugs. This was a message. The third man caught her with a punch that split her lip. Maya spun with the blow, using the momentum to slam her heel into his knee. Something cracked. He howled. From her neighbor's window, she heard Jordan scream, "Mom!" The sound stabbed through her heart, but she couldn't look. The first attacker was back up, swinging a baton. Maya blocked it with her forearm, pain shooting through the bone. She grabbed his wrist, twisted hard, and the baton clattered to the ground. Her knee found his groin. As he doubled over, she brought her elbow down on the base of his skull. The second man wrapped his arms around her from behind. Maya threw her head back, feeling his nose break against her skull. But his grip held. The third man limped forward, fist raised. Maya kicked off the ground, using the second man's grip against him. Both her feet slammed into the third man's chest. He flew backward into her car. The impact loosened the grip around her chest enough for her to break free. She spun, striking precise blows to the second man's throat and temple. He crumpled. All 3 attackers were down, but Maya's whole body screamed with pain. Blood dripped from her split lip onto her white blouse. Neighbors had spilled onto their porches. Someone was filming. Mrs. Johnson held Jordan and Caleb back as they cried out for her. Red and blue lights flooded the street as police cruisers arrived, far too quickly to be a normal response time. Maya stood her ground, hands raised. FBI Special Agent Maya Carter. I was just assaulted by 3 masked men. They need to be arrested. But the officers ignored the groaning attackers. Instead, their captain stepped forward, a familiar smirk on his face. He held out an official envelope. Agent Carter, he said, emphasizing the title mockingly. You've been suspended from duty, effective immediately, pending investigation into multiple incidents of violent conduct. Maya's hands shook as she opened the letter. The FBI seal glared up at her, followed by cold, bureaucratic language. Her badge and credentials were to be surrendered, her cases reassigned. Her career, everything she'd fought for, suspended with a single piece of paper. "The men who attacked me," she started. "What men?" The captain gestured around. The three attackers had vanished during the chaos of the police arrival. Even the dark sedan was gone. "Looks like you had quite a fall in your driveway, though. Might want to get those injuries checked out." Maya's body throbbed with each heartbeat. Her FBI badge felt like it was burning against her hip. No longer a symbol of justice, but a reminder of betrayal. She could hear her sons crying, could feel the neighbors' stares, could sense the officer's satisfaction. "Your badge, Agent Carter." The captain held out his hand. "Or should I say, Miss Carter?" With trembling fingers, Maya unclipped her badge. Everything she'd worked for, every barrier she'd broken, every sacrifice she'd made, stripped away by the same corrupt system she'd sworn to uphold. She placed the badge in the captain's palm, keeping her voice steady, despite the pain coursing through her body. "I want to file an assault report." "Of course," he smiled coldly. "Come by the station tomorrow. We'll take your statement about that fall." "You had?" The officers returned to their cruisers, leaving Maya standing in her blood-stained clothes as neighbors whispered and filmed. Mrs. Johnson finally let go of the boys, who ran to her. "Mom!" Jordan crashed into her legs. "You're bleeding!" "I'm okay, baby." Maya tried to hide her wince as she hugged them. "Let's get inside." "Your badge?" Caleb pointed at the retreating police cars. "They took your badge." Maya looked down at her sons' terrified faces, at the phone cameras still recording, at the spot where her attackers had vanished. The system she'd trusted, the badge she'd earned, the justice she'd believed in, all of it had turned against her in a single night. Maya's eyes snapped open at dawn, her body screaming in protest. Every muscle felt like it had been torn apart and hastily stitched back together. The morning light filtering through her bedroom window seemed harsh and accusing. She tried to sit up, gasping at the stabbing pain in her ribs. The empty space on her hip where her badge should be felt like a phantom limb. 20 years of working toward that badge, fighting through the academy, proving herself over and over, all gone in one night. Her phone buzzed constantly on the nightstand. News alerts, texts, missed calls. She grabbed it, scrolling through the headlines with shaking hands. FBI agent suspended after violent outburst. Questions raised about unstable federal agent. Mother or menace? The Dr. Maya Carter story. The local news had already painted her as unhinged, dangerous. They'd found an old quote from her ex-husband about her intensity during their divorce. They'd twisted her takedown of the officers in the park into something sinister. Not a mother protecting her children, but a threat to public safety. Maya forced herself to her feet, wrapping her arms around her aching ribs. The mirror showed purple bruises blooming across her jaw, a split lip that had swollen overnight. She touched the tender spots gently, cataloging each injury like evidence. Shuffling to the kitchen, she found Jordan and Caleb already awake. They sat at the counter, picking at bowls of cereal, unusually quiet. Their eyes followed her every movement, as if afraid she might disappear. "Mom?" Jordan's voice was small. "Are you going to work today?" Maya's throat tightened. "No, baby. I'm taking some time off." "Because they took your badge?" Caleb asked. "Yes." She tried to keep her voice steady. "But it's temporary. We're going to fight this." "What if those men come back?" Jordan pushed his cereal away. "What if they hurt you worse next time?" Maya crossed the kitchen, ignoring the pain to wrap her arms around both boys. "Listen to me. Those men were cowards. They attacked in the dark because they're afraid of the truth. But we're not going to let them win." Her phone buzzed again, text from her lawyer. "Turn on the news." "Now!" Maya grabbed the remote, flipping to the local station. The police captain stood at a podium, his face grave with fake concern. "We're deeply troubled by Agent Carter's pattern of aggressive behavior," he was saying. "First, the unprovoked attack on 2 officers performing their duty, then multiple witnesses reporting her erratic conduct. Last night's incident in her driveway raises serious questions about her stability and fitness for duty." The camera cut to grainy cell phone footage of her fight with the masked men, edited to show only her strikes, none of their attacks. The caption read, "FBI agent's violent breakdown." Maya's hands clenched into fists. Her body ached with every breath, but something deeper hurt. The betrayal, the twisting of truth, the way they were trying to erase her humanity. She called her FBI supervisor, getting voicemail. Called her colleagues, straight to voicemail. Even people she'd worked with for years were shutting her out. The system was closing ranks, leaving her isolated. Social media was worse. Trolls called her a danger to society. Racist comments flooded every news article. Some people defended her, but their voices were drowning in the orchestrated wave of hatred. By afternoon, reporters camped outside her house. Their cameras tracked her through the windows. Her sons couldn't even play in their own yard. They were prisoners in their home, under siege from all sides. Maya paced the living room, checking locks, drawing curtains. Her training told her to document everything, build her case methodically. But her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Every car that drove by too slowly made her flinch. Every shadow could hide another attacker. When night finally fell, she tucked her exhausted boys into bed. They clung to her longer than usual, making her promise again and again that she wouldn't leave them. "You're still our superhero," Jordan whispered. "No matter what they say." Maya held him tight, fighting back tears. "Get some sleep, baby. Everything will be better soon." But alone in her bathroom later, staring at her battered reflection in the mirror, Maya felt anything but heroic. Her bruises had darkened, her split lip still throbbed. The woman looking back at her seemed smaller somehow, diminished without her badge. She gripped the sink, leaning close to examine every mark they'd left on her. Physical wounds would heal, but they were trying to break something deeper. Her spirit, her resolve, her very identity as a protector of justice. Her whispered words fogged the mirror. "They want me broken." They picked. Maya stared at her reflection for another long moment, then straightened her spine. The pain was still there, but something else burned brighter now. Determination. She grabbed her phone and started making calls. First was Angela Washington, the civil rights lawyer who'd been fighting police brutality cases for 20 years. "Meet me at the community center tomorrow night," Maya said, "and bring every piece of evidence you've got on police union corruption." Next was Sarah Chen, the journalist who'd been digging into police misconduct for months. "I need those files you mentioned," Maya told him. "The ones about union payoffs and buried complaints. It's time to put them all together." She called Pastor Davis, whose church had become a hub for community organizing. "Can you get people to the forum? We need witnesses, victims, anyone who's been silenced by these officers." Her hands shook less with each call. This was familiar territory. Building a case, connecting evidence, creating a network. She might not have her badge, but they couldn't take away her training or her instincts. Maya spread her research across the kitchen table. Complaint files, witness statements, financial records showing suspicious payments. The police union had been burying misconduct for years, paying off victims, threatening whistleblowers. Her own attack was just the latest in a long pattern. "Mom?" Jordan's voice made her jump. He stood in the doorway in his pajamas, Caleb beside him. "We heard you talking." "I thought you were asleep." Maya said softly. We want to help, Caleb said. Like you always tell us. Stand up for what's right. Maya's chest tightened. Her boys had seen too much already. The violence in the park, the ambush in their driveway. Part of her wanted to shield them completely, send them to their grandmothers until this was over. But they were already part of this fight. Running wouldn't teach them the lesson they needed to learn. Come here, she said, opening her arms. They rushed to her, careful of her bruises. Tomorrow night, I'm going to tell everyone the truth about what these officers did. Not just to us, but to lots of families. Will it be dangerous? Jordan asked against her shoulder. I'll be careful, Maya promised, and I won't be alone. Sometimes fighting for justice means taking risks, but we do it smart. We do it together. She showed them the evidence spread across the table, explaining in simple terms how the pieces fit together. Their eyes grew wide as they understood the scope of what she was uncovering. It's like a puzzle, Caleb said. All the pieces show the bad guys. Exactly, Maya smiled. And tomorrow night, we're going to show everyone the whole picture. She worked through the night, organizing her presentation. The community forum would be televised. She needed everything to be clear, undeniable. Her lawyer helped draft talking points. The journalist fact-checked every detail. And Pastor Davis mobilized his congregation to pack the audience. Morning brought more news crews outside her house, more hostile headlines. But Maya felt steadier now. Let them watch. Let them spin their lies. The truth was about to blow their whole system apart. She spent the day preparing, checking and double-checking her evidence. Her body still ached, but adrenaline pushed through the pain. This was what she'd trained for. Gathering intelligence, building an airtight case, taking down corrupt networks. As evening approached, Maya changed into a crisp blazer, covering her bruises with makeup. She checked the hidden microphone her journalist contact had provided, making sure it was secure and transmitting clearly. Everything she said would be recorded, backed up to multiple servers. They couldn't bury this story. Her sons watched her get ready, unusually quiet. They knew the stakes, understood that tonight could change everything. What if they try to stop you? Jordan asked. That's why we have backup plans, Maya assured him. Pastor Davis's security team will be there. News cameras will be rolling. And remember what I taught you about calling Aunt Sarah if anything happens? They nodded solemnly. Maya knelt before them, ignoring the protest from her ribs. I need you to be brave tonight, she said. Can you do that for me? Yes, they said together. And remember, no matter what happens, no matter what anyone says about me, you know the truth, right? You're our hero, Caleb said fiercely. You fight bad guys and protect people. Maya pulled them close, breathing in their familiar scents, her boys, her reason for everything. They had to learn that justice was worth fighting for, that truth could overcome any lie. They hugged her tightly, careful of her injuries. Bring the truth back, Mom, they whispered. Maya kissed their foreheads, then stood and checked her microphone one final time. The weight of it against her skin felt like armor. She grabbed her keys and evidence files, squared her shoulders, and walked toward the door. The cameras outside tracked her movement. Reporters shouted questions. Maya kept walking, head high, mind focused on the battle ahead. The night air felt electric with possibility. They'd tried to break her, to bury her story. Instead, they'd given her everything she needed to expose their whole corrupt system. The community center buzzed with tension. Every seat was filled, with people lining the walls and spilling out into the hallway. News cameras lined the back, their red lights blinking like watchful eyes. At the podium, Police Union President Howard Malone adjusted his tie, his smile sharp and confident. These allegations are nothing but fake news and social media hysteria, he declared. Our officers acted appropriately when confronted by an aggressive individual. The so-called victim has a history of instability. That's a lie. Maya's voice cut through the murmurs, strong and clear. She stood from her seat in the front row, holding up a thick manila folder. And I can prove it. Malone's smile flickered. Ms. Carter, you're out of order. This forum has procedures. Like the procedures you used to bury 17 excessive force complaints. Maya stepped into the center aisle, projecting her voice to reach the back of the room. Or the procedures for paying off victims to keep quiet. She pulled out documents, holding them high. March 15th, Officer Bailey assaulted a teenage boy. The complaint vanished. April 3rd, both officers harassed an elderly black couple. That report? Mysteriously lost. The crowd stirred. Phones raised to film. Maya moved closer to the stage, each step deliberate. June 7th, a domestic violence victim called for help. Instead of protection, she got threats. The union paid her $10,000 to stay silent. Maya's voice grew harder. I have bank records, witness statements, internal memos ordering cover-ups. Security! Malone barked into the microphone. Remove this woman. But Maya was already climbing the stage steps, laying out papers on the podium. Everything's here. Names, dates, signatures. A pattern of brutality and corruption going back years. The crowd pressed forward. Journalists scrambled to photograph the documents. Malone grabbed for the papers, but Maya blocked him smoothly, her FBI training evident in every controlled movement. That's when the back doors burst open. 3 officers in tactical gear charged through the crowd. Maya recognized them instantly, the same men who'd ambushed her at home. But this time, she was ready. The first officer reached for her arm. Maya stepped into his momentum, using his own force to flip him over the podium. He crashed into the front row as gasps and screams erupted. The second officer swung a baton. Maya caught it mid-strike, twisting it free while sweeping his legs. He hit the stage hard as cameras flashed like strobe lights. The third officer, bigger than the others, wrapped his arms around her from behind. Maya dropped her weight, breaking his grip, then spun with an elbow strike that caught him in the solar plexus. He stumbled back, wheezing. "Keep filming!" someone shouted. Every phone was up now, capturing the violence in high definition. The first officer charged again, reaching for his taser. Maya moved with fluid precision. She caught his wrist, redirected the taser into his partner's chest, then used the momentary chaos to take them both down with quick, efficient strikes. The big officer made one last attempt, bull-rushing across the stage. Maya sidestepped, caught his arm, and executed a perfect takedown that left him face down, arm locked behind his back. "This is what they do," she called out, her voice carrying over the shocked crowd. "They use force to silence the truth, but not anymore." The fallen officers groaned on the stage. Union President Malone had disappeared. Maya stood tall despite her aching body, surrounded by scattered papers that detailed years of corruption. "Maya! Maya! Maya!" The chant started in the back, spreading through the crowd like fire. Reporters swarmed the stage, cameras pushing close, microphones thrust forward. "Dr. Carter, how long have you been investigating the union? Did they target you because you had evidence? Are there more cover-ups to expose?" Maya faced the cameras directly, her voice steady. "Everything you need to know is in these files. The evidence speaks for itself. No more cover-ups. No more silence." The chanting grew louder. Phones kept recording. Through the crowd, Maya spotted Pastor Davis nodding proudly, and her lawyer already gathering the scattered documents into evidence bags. Local news crews pushed through, broadcasting live. Maya stood her ground as questions flew, the downed officers still groaning at her feet. She had trained her whole life for moments like this. Not just the physical combat, but the courage to stand up, to fight back, to expose the truth no matter the cost. The community center vibrated with energy. More people pressed in from outside, drawn by the commotion. The chanting continued, punctuated by cheers and calls for justice. Camera flashes lit up the stage like lightning, capturing every detail of the scene. The fallen officers, the damning documents, and Maya Carter standing tall in the middle of it all. The next morning exploded with headlines. Every major network covered the story. FBI agent exposes police corruption. Union president flees after confrontation. Justice Department launches investigation. Maya watched from her kitchen table as clips of the previous night's showdown played on repeat. Jordan and Caleb sat beside her, munching cereal and staring at the TV with wide eyes. On screen, their mother took down 3 officers while protecting a stack of evidence that was now shaking the entire city. "Mom, you're trending!" Jordan pointed to his tablet, showing her the viral hashtags. Maya the Protector and Justice for Maya dominated social media. The doorbell rang. Maya tensed, but it was only Pastor Davis with a stack of newspapers. Each front page showed different angles of the same scene. Maya standing triumphant on stage, surrounded by fallen officers and scattered evidence. "You did it, sister," Pastor Davis smiled, laying out the papers. "They're arresting them as we speak." Her phone buzzed with updates throughout the morning. The police chief announced his resignation at an emergency press conference, his face ashen as he dodged questions about his role in the cover-ups. 3 hours later, the mayor held her own press conference, announcing federal oversight of the department. "The Department of Justice will conduct a thorough investigation," the mayor declared, looking directly into the cameras. "We have failed our community's trust, and changes must be made." By afternoon, news helicopters circled downtown as FBI agents raided the police union headquarters. Maya recognized some of her colleagues, carrying out boxes of files and computer drives. Officer Bailey and his partners were led out in handcuffs, their faces twisted with rage when they spotted the news cameras. "The corruption went deeper than anyone suspected," her lawyer explained over the phone. "Your evidence cracked open decades of misconduct. They're finding cover-ups dating back to the 90s. Caleb tugged at her sleeve, pointing to more breaking news. Union President Malone had been caught trying to flee the state. State troopers arrested him at a small private airfield, a suitcase full of cash in his trunk. The community rallied around Maya. Neighbors dropped off food and cards. Local mothers organized a support vigil outside her house. Their signs read, "Protect Black Mothers," and "Stand with Maya." "You showed us how to fight back," one mother told her, tears in her eyes. "My boys look up to you now. You gave us hope." Maya hugged her sons closer, watching more coverage roll in. Legal experts predicted sweeping reforms. Civil rights leaders called for national police union investigations. Her story had sparked a movement larger than herself. Late that evening, her FBI supervisor called. Maya stepped onto her back porch, watching the sunset paint the sky orange as she answered. "Carter," Director Williams said, his voice formal but warm. "The Bureau wants to reinstate you immediately. Full clearance, back pay, and a commendation for uncovering systemic corruption. We should have backed you from the start." Maya watched through the window as her boys played video games, safe and happy in their home. She thought about that day in the park, how quickly their peace had been shattered. How many other mothers lived in fear of the same thing? "Sir," she replied, her voice firm, "I appreciate the offer. But this was never about a badge. It's about my boys, and mothers like me." She could hear Williams shift uncomfortably. "I don't understand. We can't just fix one department or punish a few bad officers," Maya explained. The whole system needs to change. Black mothers shouldn't have to be FBI agents to protect their children in a park. Through the window, Jordan caught her eye and waved. She waved back, her heart full of love and fierce determination. This wasn't the end of her fight. It was just the beginning. "So, what are you saying, Carter?" "I'm saying I have a bigger mission now," she answered. "Those mothers out front? They need someone to help them fight back, to expose corruption wherever it hides, to make sure their children can play in parks without fear." She watched another group of supporters gather at her fence, holding candles and sharing stories. Their voices carried across her yard, strong and hopeful. "The badge was never what gave me power," Maya continued. "It was knowing right from wrong, standing up against injustice, teaching my boys that no one has the right to make them feel afraid." The silence stretched between them. Finally, Williams sighed. "You're making a difference, Carter. Whatever you decide, you have my respect." Maya ended the call and looked up at the darkening sky. Somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed, but for the first time in weeks, she didn't tense at the sound. Change was coming, slow but unstoppable, like a tide rising to wash away years of corruption and fear. A week later, Maya pulled into the familiar parking spot at Henderson Park. The same trees swayed in the breeze, the same playground equipment gleamed in the afternoon sun. But everything felt different now. Jordan and Caleb bounced in their seats, pressing their faces against the windows. "Look, Mom, our spot is free." Jordan pointed to their favorite picnic table near the fountain. Maya smiled, feeling a mix of emotions wash over her. This park had been their sanctuary, then their battleground, and now, perhaps, it could be their sanctuary again. As they climbed out of the SUV, she noticed other families watching them, not with suspicion or fear, but with quiet recognition. A mother pushing her daughter on the swings gave Maya a small wave. An elderly man reading on a bench nodded respectfully. "Can we get ice cream first?" Caleb asked, tugging at her hand. His eyes darted nervously toward the spot where the police car had parked that day, but Maya squeezed his fingers reassuringly. "Of course, baby. Rocky Road for you, mint chocolate chip for Jordan, and vanilla for Mom because she's boring," Jordan finished, grinning. The familiar teasing felt like healing, like reclaiming pieces of their old life. They walked to the ice cream cart, where Mr. Rodriguez beamed at them. "The Carter family! No charge today," he insisted, already scooping their usual orders. "Please, let me pay," Maya started, but he shook his head. "You showed my granddaughters what courage looks like," he said softly. "That's worth more than ice cream." They settled at their picnic table, savoring the cold sweetness. Maya watched her boys relax into the familiar routine, Jordan telling elaborate stories, while Caleb giggled and added sound effects. Ice cream dripped down their chins just like before. A group of kids playing nearby whispered and pointed. One brave girl approached their table, clutching a worn basketball. "Are you really the FBI agent who fought the bad police?" she asked Maya, eyes wide with wonder. Maya smiled gently. "I'm just a mother who wants her children to feel safe." The girl nodded solemnly. "My mom says you're a hero. Can Jordan and Caleb come play with us?" Her boys looked to Maya for permission, their faces hopeful. She nodded, and they raced off to join the game. The sound of their laughter mixed with the other children's shouts echoed across the park. A few mothers drifted over to Maya's table, introducing themselves. They shared stories of their own encounters with police, their fears for their children, their hope that things might finally change. "We're organizing a community watch program," one woman explained, "teaching our kids their rights, documenting everything. Would you consider speaking at our meetings?" Maya watched Jordan show the other kids his best basketball moves, while Caleb cheered from the sidelines. "Yes," she said. We all need to protect each other. The afternoon stretched on, golden and peaceful. Maya retrieved their old football from the car, and soon an impromptu game started on the grass. Children and parents from all over the park joined in, passing and laughing together. She caught the ball and tossed it to Caleb, who had finally overcome his shyness enough to play. He caught it with a triumphant grin, and her heart swelled with pride. Her sensitive boy was finding his courage. Jordan organized the teams, his natural leadership shining through. He no longer looked over his shoulder for threats or flinched at the sound of sirens in the distance. The park was becoming their happy place again. As the sun began to sink toward the horizon, families gradually packed up and headed home. Maya sat on a bench, watching her sons chase fireflies near the fountain. The last rays of sunlight painted everything in warm gold, including their joyful faces. A cool breeze carried the scent of grass and late summer flowers. Birds called their evening songs from the trees. The peace they'd lost that terrible day settled back around them like a comfortable blanket. Jordan caught a firefly and showed it to Caleb. Their faces lit with wonder as it glowed in his cupped hands. They set it free and watched it dance away into the gathering dusk. Maya felt tears prick her eyes, not from fear or anger this time, but from fierce joy. Her boys could run and play without looking over their shoulders. They could exist in this space without anyone questioning their right to be there. A police car rolled past the park entrance, and Maya noticed her sons didn't even glance its way. They were too busy trying to catch more fireflies, their laughter ringing clear and unafraid in the evening air. She leaned back on the bench, watching their silhouettes dance in the fading light. The knowledge settled deep in her bones. They had reclaimed more than just this park. They had reclaimed their right to joy, to innocence, to simply being. As the first stars appeared in the darkening sky, Maya whispered while watching her sons play, "No one will ever cage us again." Her face held all the pride and strength of a mother who had fought for her children's freedom, and won. I hope you enjoyed that story. Please share it with your friends, and subscribe so that you do not miss out on the next one. In the meantime, I have handpicked 2 stories for you that I think you will enjoy. Have a great day!